We're Scott and Christine. If you're watching this, you're probably starting to deal with smoke damage, or at least trying to understand what that even means. For most people, smoke damage sounds like one thing, just smell. If you can smell smoke, then something's wrong. And if you can't smell it anymore, you assume it's gone. This video exists because smoke damage is not just about smell. In fact, some of the most harmful effects of smoke have nothing to do with what you can smell at all. Misunderstanding that can lead to decisions that affect your health and your belongings and your recovery down the line. Our goal here isn't to scare you. It's to slow things down and explain what smoke actually does in the modern home, especially after certain types of fires, so you can make calmer, safer decisions. If you haven't watched our earlier videos about what to do right after the house fire, we recommend starting there. They'll help you understand what needs to happen now, what can wait, and what mistakes to avoid. Smoke damage is often misunderstood because we talk about smoke like it's one thing, but it's not. Smoke is a mixture of gases, tiny particles, and chemical residue. And what's in that smoke depends entirely on what burned. In older homes, fires often involve more natural materials like wood, paper, cotton. Modern homes are very different. They're full of synthetic materials and furnitures with plastics, electronics, foam insulation. When those materials burn, the smoke they produce is very different and often very toxic.
You don't need to know chemical names to understand this. You just need to know that modern smoke is more aggressive, more persistent, and more likely to settle in the places you don't expect.
We also need to talk specifically about lithium-ion battery fires because they can change the equation entirely, and they're very common. One small battery can fill an entire house with smoke, not just the room where the fire happened, but the whole house. That smoke doesn't stop in the living space. It travels into walls, ductwork, and attics. In our case, a single lithium-ion battery was the only thing that burned, but it filled the entire house and filled the attic with smoke. It was so dense that it billowed out of the soffits and made it look like the attic itself was on fire. We crawled out. We couldn't see our hands directly in front of our face.
Yeah, the firefighters thought actually that the attic was on fire. It was so thick and dense. This is why people are often shocked when rooms that look untouched end up being affected just as much. The fire doesn't have to spread for the damage to spread. One of the hardest parts of smoke damage is that most of it's invisible. Smoke residue settles on walls and ceilings, but it also settles inside cabinets, drawers, closets, windows, and storage spaces. It settles on fabrics, clothing, curtains, upholstery. It settles on soft items like mattresses, pillows, and stuffed animals. And you may not smell it right away, especially after things have aired out.
Not smelling it doesn't mean it's gone, especially when residue has settled into porous materials. Our first insurance adjuster insisted on replacing our vinyl windows because they explained that once the weather warmed up, the smell would likely become noticeable again. One thing we didn't understand the first time and learned the hard way is that smoke residue is often acidic. The acidity doesn't always cause immediate damage. Sometimes it works slowly. It can eat away finishes, corrode metal, and damage wood surfaces over time. This is why early cleaning or sealing can matter so much. And you don't want to delay certain decisions regarding some of your furniture. It can create bigger problems later. Our kitchen table sat for weeks waiting for cleaners to take it, and during that time, the acid residue from the smoke burned into the surface and created hundreds of small black holes. We were devastated and they wanted to throw it away. When a furniture appraiser came to value it for replacement, we learned that the $400 table we bought at an estate sale was actually a rare mid-century modern piece worth between $10,000 and $12,000. Thankfully, it was restored and we're sitting at it right now. People often ask whether they should wipe things down right away, and the answer is sometimes. Some non-porous items can be wiped down quickly to limit damage. Others can actually be damaged further by rubbing them. Some items absorb smoke residue and they trap it and continue to off-gas over time. The problem is most people don't know which category an item falls into. That's why your restoration professionals exist. They're trained to make these calls. They have that experience. You're not expected to know these things instinctively. Trying to do too much yourself too quickly can actually make things worse. There's another piece of this that often gets overlooked, and that's health. After a fire, people experience headaches, brain fog, fatigue, coughing, confusion, mood changes, and often sleep problems. A lot of that gets chalked up to stress, and stress is absolutely part of it. But smoke exposure can also be a real contributor.
This is especially true after lithium-ion battery fires. It's one of the reasons we strongly encourage people to get checked out medically, even if they don't feel injured. One of the most confusing things is when the house looks fine, no flames, no obvious damage, maybe no smell, and yet it still is not a safe environment. When firefighters say a house is safe to enter, they usually mean it's structurally safe, not environmentally safe. That distinction is rarely explained clearly, and it leads to a lot of confusion. Most people make the same mistakes after a house fire. We made some of these too, and they're understandable. Spending too much time inside early on, letting kids or pets back in too soon, taking items out before they're cleaned, sleeping in the home because it doesn't smell anymore, or using normal household cleaners on smoke residue. Assuming that airing out fixes a problem is a bad decision. These are uninformed decisions. Pets are another reason to be cautious. They're closer to the floor where residue settles. They groom themselves, they ingest whatever's on their fur. They also can't tell you when they're not feeling well. Remove pets from the home immediately, get them groomed and checked out, and figure out the safest plan for them. They are stressed and traumatized too, and they may behave differently than usual. Smoke damage matters for insurance and inventory. Damage by smoke still counts as losses, even if they're not visibly burned. What gets restored or replaced depends on how smoke damage is understood and documented. This ties directly into inventory, which we'll talk about more in the next video.
I want to be very clear. This isn't about being afraid. It's about understanding reality so you can make steadier decisions. Slowing down here protects your health, your belongings, and future choices. You don't need to solve everything today.
In the next video, we'll talk about what not to throw away after a house fire and why throwing things out too early can cost you financially and emotionally. If this video helped, you're welcome to subscribe. You're not behind, you're not doing this wrong. This is a process.